Sheet 3 here. Today I'm going to teach you how to make the TETRESQUE puzzle box. Now this puzzle box is really important to me for a couple of reasons. It's based off a design that Brick Yorkman made and released on YouTube about 5 years ago, and I'll link to that here. Major shout out to him because that puzzle box really captured my imagination. My son and I worked on that design together and got the box together, but every time we handed it to someone, it always ended up breaking. It's just very intricate, kind of brittle. People don't know what's happening because all the pieces are on the inside, and it's got a lot of moving pieces that have to be sort of perfectly lined up for it to reliably move. So we worked on improving that design and kept giving it to people, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't work, when did it break, what could people sort of solve, and have that satisfaction of saying, wow, this is made out of Legos. So we made a couple of modifications to it. The first is that instead of having a moving lid, the lid just pops off. That's really important for a couple of reasons. One is that you can see what's happening inside. So as you're moving things, you're less inclined to break them because you see how they're sort of supposed to move. You can also then, if things get hung up in here, just kind of use your finger to push it all the way in and make things really square. So the movements really are fluid. The other thing it does is it sort of divulges a little bit of what the puzzle is. So it gives you sort of hints and clues to follow instead of just trying to like guess and test things on the outside without having any clue as to what's happening on the inside. The third thing we did is just really bulk this thing up, add some resistance to the movement, and made it a little bit more solid. This is one of the few puzzle boxes that's so intricate that I might occasionally recommend using glue when you assemble it. It works without glue, but people still tend to break it even after all the mods that we've made. So if you give it to somebody who doesn't know what a Lego puzzle box is, they might break it. But if you give it to someone who's solved a few of these, they'll be really impressed. They probably won't break it. Yeah, my son actually would collect all these pieces and put them in little bags, and he made a YouTube video showing how to assemble it, and he would give that to people for their birthday presents. So let me show you how to make it. We're going to start by placing 4 2x4 tiles around a 6-sided square plate. And inside we're going to place a corner brick and a 1x1 tile. Now that's going to be the very bottom of the puzzle box. So that smooth surface gives it something to slide around on. Next, we're going to start building up the frame of the box, at least the lower half of the frame. So we're going to set this up here with several plates in a really precise pattern. And it's important to build this pattern because this is what allows the bottom plate to move inside the frame. So let's lock this together now with some bricks. So we have a couple of 1x6 bricks, a couple of 1x4 bricks, and just really try to capture this pattern here. And we're going to actually slick out the bottom here of the frame. Notice that we've left this corner area open. That's where our jewel is going to go. And you might also notice that the square tile is overhanging one bit. That's by design. Now we're going to use vents because we're always trying to get rid of our vents. They're not perfect for sliding on unless the sliding is just so. Now let's strengthen this up with some corner bricks. These little vents on the inside rest just a little bit lower. And we're going to place a 1x1 brick in that little prize spot. And then this little cavity here that we create for the prize. It's not a huge cavity. It's one of the things I don't like about this design, but it does the job. So you can put like maybe a little Lego coin in there or a bead. We use beads. We find jewels that look sort of like a pearl, for example. Now we're just going to build up some of the outside arm pieces here. These are the little squares that sit on the outside. We've color-coded them so that they match the inner pieces, and that color helps guide people along. You can choose whatever colors you like. You don't have to color-code it if you don't want to. Express yourself here, but really pay attention to color. Notice that we've left a hole here. These are for the arms that extend into the frame. Now we're just going to break the tops of these off so that we can build the arms into these outer pieces. So here, let's start with our piece, and we're going to extend a 1x3 plate into the hole. That's the arm. Now I'm going to place a tile, a 1x2 tile on here. This is a mod that we made that gives some resistance and helps the puzzle box hold its position so it doesn't rattle around. And then we're going to place a 1x2 plate and a 1x3 tile on top. And then on the underside, we're going to have a 1x1 plate and then another 1x1 plate, just so. So it's sort of a puzzle piece that interacts with the other sliding parts. That's our red. Let's move on to green. So first, before we make our arm, we're going to just put a 1x1 plate onto a 1x2 plate and then stick that on under the third stud on our arm to make this little sort of key here. And then place that into the hole and lock out the outer piece. Let's place our slider resistor tile here. These are all going to sit on top of that vent area. Now if you have a green corner tile, you can put that on top, but if you don't, you can split it up like what I've done here, right on top of that corner brick. Now we have a green piece. On to yellow. Let's place our resistor tile first here and put that into the outer. Let's place our resistor tile first and put that into the outer arm. Lock the arm in place. And now we're just going to build a sort of a rectangle around that arm. So there'll be a brick on top, there'll be sort of a brick on bottom, and there'll be bricks in the middle here. Now you'll notice that these pieces that we're making are really intricate. They're easy to break. If you want to use a little bit of glue, that can add some strength. If you're against glue, that's fine. I usually don't use glue. I have built one of these with glue and it does work a little bit better. So with our pink one, let's add on our resistor tile and place the 1x4 arm. And then lock that, finish that outer piece. And we're going to take our corner brick and stick a 1x1 plate on the underside so that it's flush with the arm when we place it. And then tiles on top. So you'll notice that these tiles on top sit at the same level as the arms, and that's flush with the top of the box. People can use these to see if the puzzle's starting to get hung up and can adjust it. So this is another reason that we took the lid off. So now let's make the bottom key. So we're going to slide this corner next to a 1x3 plate and place a couple of 1x1s on top. One's a tile and one's a plate. Another 1x3 plate with a 1x3 tile on top. Now here we have another resistor that can slide back and forth. A 1x1 brick. Another 1x1 brick, so this sticks up quite far because it has to get all the way up to the top of the box. And then a tile plate on top. Now, I like to use square tiles wherever possible, but sometimes a round one is just better for the movement that is around it so that it doesn't get hung up. Again, if you're going to use glue, this is a good candidate. Because the friction through the puzzle box might torque that pillar as it moves. Now let's make the top part of the frame. So I've just arranged some 1x4s and some 1x6 plates, and then we'll alternate those. another 1x4. And for the 1x4 on this side, we're actually going to extrude a couple of corner plates. So let's lock these in with some tiles. And this is the top surface of the frame. Now we have all of our parts here. And so we're going to start by placing the bottom part of the frame on top of the base plate. You can see that has this stair-step motion. And now we'll place the bottom key just inside that prize cavity there. Each of the arms will then stick in. Make sure to place them just the way we have it here. And these little resistor tiles should fit just so in these little grooves that we've made for them. So you might want to, they can get annoying to place if you don't just put them just perfectly in place. And place the top frame on top, press everything in, and there is the main part of the puzzle. Let's make the lid. It doesn't need a lid, but it's kind of nice to have because it keeps everything sort of locked in place. So I've placed tiles on a 4x4 plate here. And I've actually arranged them in the colors that divulge what the solution position should be. On the underside of the lid, we'll place some plates that just fit into the open holes so that none of the pieces can move while it's in. The lid just sits loosely on top. Don't forget to find a good prize for the inside. You can use little beads or a black pearl, anything that'll fit into that little cavity and lock closed. And let's close this thing up. I want to give a big shout out to Brick Yorkman, who came up with the original design for this puzzle box that we modded out here. If you don't follow Brick Yorkman, you should. He's a legend in the Lego puzzle boxing world, and you should check out his designs.